Hey, hello everyone. My name is Ty Smith. I am the benefits planner at Atlantis Community. I am incredibly excited for this presentation more than anyone else I've done recently, mostly because, if people don't believe the dream is possible, it makes it really hard to help them find the dream. And I do believe this dream is possible. So I'm very happy to invite Pam from the CHFA, Colorado Housing Finance Authority, and Minde from Guild Mortgage. And Minde, I actually know because she helped me live the dream. So um, please welcome them. This presentation will be recorded. I will try and edit everything out before the presentation and after the presentation. So we would like to request that you just have your cameras off until the end of the presentation. And then I'm sure there'll be time for questions and answers. And just welcome, welcome, welcome. Any other comments, Minde or Pam? Okay, we will start. So, um, wait, oh, I'm sorry. Didn't think that was supposed to be in there. One second. That was my mistake. I am very sorry. I left a slide in from a different presentation. So I'm just going to skip that one. So my name is Ty. One, help if I share my screen. I'm feeling really unprofessional right now. Okay, back on. My name is Ty. I'm a person with disabilities. I actually grew up in the mental health system where my providers had very little faith in me. They told my mom to relinquish all custody to the state, otherwise, she'd spend the rest of her life baking cookies for me behind bars. I've worked very, very, very hard to get to a better place. I worked with the Division of Voc Rehab, known as DVR. They helped me go through college and get my bachelor's degree, and then my first full-time job. As soon as I got my first full-time job, I opened up an ABLE account. Not everyone knows about them, but ABLEs are these special bank accounts for people on benefits to be able to save money without them uh, kicking them off benefits because they reach their resource caps. For like SSI, Social Security income, you can have up to $100,000 in your ABLE account before they kick you off. Now, normally you can only have $2,000 in your account, which isn't much money. Makes it really hard for that down payment assistance. So the first thing I did after getting my job was open up that bank account, save up some money. I eventually transitioned off benefits. I still was working and I still have some of the benefits I need. I still have Medicaid and Medicare, but um, both SSI, SSDI,
You
which
have
I was on
Evans
both,
keys? Yeah. Okay.
SSI and SSDI, which I was on both, uh, um, and SNAP and subsidized housing, I all transitioned myself off. I did that by buying my home. I have a fantastic home. It's not in the metro area where I work. I live in southeast Colorado, but I have a couple slices of my life here. So the first thing I did when I bought my home was made my dream game room, and you can kind of see my Viking table and comic book collection and uh, um, all the swords and daggers. Those are the game argument devices where if someone cheats, we deal it with actual combat. And then my living room is just it's an arcade. Let's just admit it. I got a pinball machine and slot machines. I want to say I grew up in poverty. I had a part of my life where I didn't have running water. I lived out of my car. I had no wealth until about 3 years ago. And I've been able to achieve all this. If I can do it, I believe everyone else out there can. And yes, I also did buy a classic fire truck because, you know, classic fire trucks are really big out here, and if I'm gonna join the community, I might as well go big. And so that's a little bit about my life. I'm also looking to be a foster parent now because I can't think of anything better than helping other people, find their life earlier in their path earlier in life. So it's just a little bit about me. Um, I when I first tried to go down the path of home ownership, I had a lot of money in student debts, and my own income was only Social Security. I knew it was possible to buy a home, but every time I went to like one of the first time home buyers program or my housing authority, they just kind of laughed at me. And they said, "You can't afford the metro area." And I mean, metro area is really expensive. My debt to income was way too high. So I worked off paying on what debt I could. I got some stuff forgiven. Um, and then I got my job and saved up a bunch of money. Not a whole lot. I would say only a couple $1,000s. Um, and then I started to work with CHFA, and other entities to buy houses. The first house I was looking at, I really, really liked it. Um, we had a home inspection. Great tool. Always recommend getting your home inspected because this particular home had a terrible foundation. And I didn't want a home with severe, severe problems. I think home inspections are actually necessities if you need a FHA loan, though. I'll let the other experts actually answer that. Um, and that can be difficult because finding a good home that passes inspections can be challenging. My current home came very, very close, but the seller was willing to work with me to put on a new roof and fix the smaller stuff that could be done. Um, I I'm sorry. Um, I had Oh, these are some of the things that I've also heard along the way. I was really confused about that because I don't remember saying that I had bad credit. Um, but I hear a lot of other people say a lot of these things that they've been laughed at or too. That's definitely what happened to me. But that their debt to income high is a pretty big turnaway. And there's a lot of programs out there that can actually help you work on reducing your debt and building that. And some of the programs actually come with incentives. Like for every dollar that you save, they may match it. Um, a lot of people I hear said that they can't afford the home that they want to be in because FHA won't approve the inspection, and that can be difficult. Um, the benefits that their home needs, like a house that has accessible kitchens, usually aren't in the price range of the buildings that they're looking at. I do think we're trying to fight that because, helping people age in place benefits everyone. Even if you're young and you have a good body, isn't it nice to have a bathroom that maybe an older relative can use if they come and visit you, and not on the second floor up a flight of stairs? That happened to me. That they have bad credit and they can't work on improving it. I know I hear that one a lot and it's really overwhelming. There are a lot of programs that can help with that. Um, and that there just isn't as many programs. Both Mindy and Pam, I think, will tell you that there's more than you might know. Uh, but I'm guessing, I don't know if they'll tell you this, I'm guessing that as things happen, a lot of them fade over time because they're not accessed as much as they should be. And when budget cuts are done, people don't see the value as much as that we do. Um, and then I would say the most common thing I hear is it's not even possible for me to own a home. And that breaks my heart. That's why I'm doing this presentation. I want you, if it is your dream to own a home. I want you to realize that dream in any way I can help. So, just a little bit about my organization. I work for a Center for Independent Living. We are one of the best kept secrets. Um, there's a, we help uh, anyone with just about anything through information and referral. For those who have a disability, we provide additional services. Most of our services are free, and we'll help you with anything that we can. We help people find homes. We help people apply for benefits. We help people fill out documents. We help people learn living skills, cooking, socialization, you name it, we do it as long as it's your goal. Um, we do a few extra things. And I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail because I want to give, the real experts a chance to speak. I mostly want to be here to show that the dream is possible. I did it. I know others can. Just let us know what you need to do it. That's the key to today's meeting. So I believe I'm going to turn it over. Oh, I'm going to skip this because I went over this, but this is what I do as a benefits planner. I help people maximize their income to keep the benefits that they need. And that's how I was able to purchase my home. If you want more information, let me know. I'm happy to follow up with anyone. But I think the real stars of the show should talk. Thank you. So I'm going to turn it over to Pam.
Thanks, Di. It's a great story. You're an amazing young man. So thank you, everybody. My name is Pam Francil. I'm a senior business development specialist at the Colorado Housing and Finance Authority. And we're going to talk about the program that Ty used, that Minde worked with Ty to be able to purchase his home. Home Access. It's a program that is developed for persons with a disability or a family member with a disability. And when you see the word plus, that means a down payment assistance comes with that program. You can get the program without down payment assistance, but we know that the down payment assistance is very, very popular with our program. Next slide, please. So this is just our disclaimer. What I'm going to share with you today is in our seller's guide, and it can be easily reviewed. It can be Googled, etc. So I'm not saying anything that's out of the ordinary or comes as a shock to anybody. Next slide. So this is our talking about our home access. Now, home access has been around for probably 2 decades. Within the most, probably I would say, last 2.5 years, we upgraded it and we made it so it's accessible to everybody. It used to be very, very restrictive, as Minde knows, because Minde is a home access provider, loan officer. She did the old version and she does the new version. So this is for persons living with a disability, or they have a child with a disability under the age of 18. If they are a caregiver for a child over the age of 18 and that child is cognitive, they would perhaps have to be on the loan, or if they are not, they have severe disabilities and the parent is a caregiver, then the parent has to show that they have access to be able to secure that child, receive the payments that they get SSDI for them. The state has guaranteed them that they have full guardianship over that child. So there's some things, and again, Minde is very, very astute with this. She knows the answers inside and out. So she may talk to that. The beautiful thing about this loan, if you need down payment assistance, it comes with a $25,000 down payment assistance. Now, for persons that are interested about this is not a grant. It is a repayable second. So should the homeowner sell the home, refinance the home, pay the home off, they are going to have to pay off that second. Users of this program do not have to be first-time home buyers. And the reason we changed that, because it used to be persons go about their life and sadly something happens. They have an accident. They become ill and life changes. So we made the change on this that persons did not have to be a first-time home buyer. Maybe they owned a home before, they suffered a traumatic brain injury or something like that and needed to, buy another home. We will allow co-signers with this program. It is the only one that we will allow. With it, all of our other programs, they cannot. Our statewide income limits, they just went up, make sure that's correct. So statewide, a person wanting to utilize this program may make up to $178,000 $920 to qualify for this loan. Next slide. So we do require proof of disability. So a current award letter from SSDI or Social Security dated within 12 months, a current letter from SSA, which would be the Social Security Administration, acknowledging the eligible benefits. And again, it has to be a permanent disability. We'll also accept a letter from a licensed medical doctor on their letterhead. Somebody cannot write a prescription for this, so it really has to be legitimate documentation. So just so that you're aware of that, if you're interested or you know somebody that's interested, they are going to have to get the documentation to support the disability. Next slide. So this is a home access program. We're going to look through it in 3 groups. The borrower must have that permanent disability that I've already spoke to, must be the custodial parent or legal guardian. It does have the $25,000 down payment assistance, 0% mortgage, meaning we call them piggyback or silent seconds. It sits there silently. It does not go away. A borrower does not have to make payments on it. Although, should they want to, they may make a payment on it. How is that helpful to the homeowner? The borrower is every time they make a payment on that second, they reduce what that lien is, giving them more equity into the property. And if at some point they're able to pay off the $25,000, and I'm going to say $25,000, they do not have to go with the full dollar amount. They may select something lesser than that if they choose to. But at any rate, they would have to pay it off. It would become due and payable in month 360 when the first lien would be paid in full. Borrowers do not have to be first-time home buyers. And we do expect at least a $500 minimum financial contribution within this loan. It would be what they would have to pay, because typically with our other programs, it's $1,000. With this one, it's $500. Second line right there, column, permanent interest rate buy downs are permitted, so that can help drop the interest rate a little bit. Those can be paid by the borrower, the builder, the lender, the seller, or other acceptable third parties. And CHFA DPA may be used toward the buy down. So if they're getting the second, that $25,000, and they want to buy that down, they may use a portion of that money from that DPA down payment assistance to buy that interest rate down. And then the third column, single family homes, attached or detached. And what that means is it may be in a PUD, a planned unit development, and this home is attached to another home next to it. It may be a condominium. It could be manufactured homes, single wide or larger. They must be real property if it's a manufactured home. Your loan officer will go over that with you to make sure that you're aware of what that is, and they will look at that property with you to make sure that it is acceptable regardless of what type it is. Next one, slide 5, please. So all borrowers must complete a CHFA homebuyer education course. Depending where you are in the state of Colorado, we have them all over. They can go in person. They may go online, whichever is easiest for the home buyer to attend. They are available in English and Spanish. In-person classes are no cost to the borrower. There's one live webinar with the Denver Housing Authority. If the home buyer decides that they want to go online because they may find it easier, that's going to be a cost of $75 per borrower. Now, if we have a person that is visually or have a hearing disabled, hearing disabled, then you can work with the housing authority within that area to get somebody with ASL, American Sign Language, or somebody that is, they can do, if they're visual, they can certainly, I believe, help them with that. So just have to reach out to the housing authority in that area, or not the housing authority, the nonprofit agency within that area to help obtain that specific type of home buyer education. The certificates that a borrower gets is good for 12 months. Anything that's over 12 months, then they're going to have to retake the education. So do contact a home buyer education provider. All of our lenders, Minde here specifically, they know who to contact. They know what that looks like. They know how to direct that home buyer to these education and what they need to look for. So they are going to be your guru, your confidant, your person to help guide you through this process. Next slide. And the last but not least, I believe I'm just about through the end of my presentation. CHFA has just initiated this financial planning, and it's not a CHFA program itself, but you can certainly, if you have your phones out and you want to, you can take a snip of that QR code. It will take you into an app. You can drop this down on your phone. You can go through Zogo. It's it's a game is kind of what it is. And so you can, if it's on your app and you can set it up, you can work toward making little tranches of money, little gift cards. It's quite fun to do. And it's a great opportunity, even for persons that have owned a home before, to go through Zogo. It's just kind of reintroduces, credit, what you need to do about credit, how to create it. And even if you own a home, like Ty, if Ty wanted to do this, there's no cost to you to do it. You can certainly go in, snip that little QR code, use that access code, and start learning about finances and getting a little bit of fun along the way. Next slide. And that's it. And that's me. You can see me. I'm in two places at once. So if there's any questions, we can take them now, or maybe Ty might wish to take questions at the end. So Minde can go ahead and get started on her presentation.
If it's okay, I'd like to push to the end. That way we can turn the recording off.
Okay.
Are you ready, Minde?
I am ready. So I'm Minde Harper, and so I work on helping you get the loan, so getting the financing. So I'm going to talk to you about kind of what to expect when you're trying to qualify for a loan, and when you're talking to a loan officer, they're going to ask you for. I think this is the part where people are probably the most scared and nervous, because you may not be ready right now, but that's okay. So I think it's super important for you to at least get with a loan officer to figure out, am I ready now? Am I not ready now? And you might be ready now, but not able to find a house in the price range you want. So you can talk with that loan officer about, how do I get to where I want? So don't be afraid to reach out and get something started. So that's what we're going to talk about in my section. So, okay, Ty, can you go to the next one? So the required paperwork. So we do ask for a lot of paperwork, but the basics of what we're going to ask you for up front is typically a month of pay stubs if you have a job that you are paid on, Social Security or disability awards letters, 2 years W-2s. If you're on pension or retirement income, we're going to need some sort of letter on that. Or if you're on, if one of you is a caregiver for someone who is on disability, then a lot of that caregiver income is not taxed and stuff. So sometimes you get pay stubs, sometimes you don't, but we'll need documentation from the employer on what you do get. If you're self-employed, we're going to ask you for 2 years of tax returns. We typically want 2, sometimes we ask you for 3 months. We typically ask you for 2 months of bank statements to start with. Sometimes by the time you're getting ready to close, those bank statements have expired, so you'll end up having to give us another one. So you might end up with 3 months. But the other thing we're going to do is we're going to ask you for your authorization to pull your credit. We're going to pull your credit, and we're going to look at your credit. If you're using the CHFA Home Access Program or any of the CHFA programs, you have to have a 620 credit score or above. So we're going to be looking at that. If you're not at a 620 or above, that's okay. We can still help you figure out what you need to do to get there. So like I said, the big things are, make sure you take that step to at least get started with a loan officer so you can find out where you're at. But keeping your documents organized and up to date often helps. And when we ask you for things, just make sure you get them to us within 24 to 48 hours. Okay, can you go to the next one, Ty? So this is what the loan timeline kind of looks like. Most of the time when you submit your application, your loan officer is going to get back to you within 1 to 3 days. It kind of depends. If you do it over the weekend, you might not hear until Monday or Tuesday. So, Step 2, the home buying search. That really varies on when, what price range you're in. If you're in a market that's super competitive, some markets, those houses fly off the market. They go up for listed for sale and they go under contract right away. So that's going to vary. Your real estate agent will be able to tell you once you know what price range you're in, kind of a time frame on what you're looking at there. So the loan application, we kind of do that and the pre-approval all in the same thing. So I wouldn't say that's a separate thing. But then once we have you sign that loan application, we do send it into underwriting, and then they usually are going to come back to any lender within 48 hours and give us an approval. The approval comes out with conditions of things that we have to get that we may not have got up front from you. So those things we're going to go back and forth and ask you for. That whole process can take 2 to 4 weeks. We'll get an appraisal in there, and the appraisal is different than an inspection. A lot of people get that confused. An inspection, a home inspection, like Ty was talking about, they really do a deep dive on the condition of the property. They're looking at like everything, like Ty said, the foundation, all of that. So that you're going to do upfront right after you get under contract. The appraisal that we order as a lender for you verifies that this home is worth what you're paying for it. It's not as detailed. FHA does look for health and safety items, but they don't dig in like they do on a home inspection. So although FHA doesn't require you have a home inspection, they do highly suggest that you get one. And most of your real estate agents that you're going to be working with are going to tell you need to get one. So you'd want to make sure that you have money saved for that, because that is something you'll have to pay out of your pocket. And the prices for that depend on where you're at in the state. So, but that I would highly recommend an inspection. And then once we get final loan approval, we have to send you out a closing disclosure that you have to sign. That gives you your final payment, your final cash at close. And then once you receive that, we have to wait 3 days for you to close. So we just put that can take a week for you before you get to closing. So, okay. Can we go to the next one? Okay, so common misunderstanding is I can't qualify because I'm on disability or fixed income. That is not true. There's many programs that accept that. When you're on a fixed income like Social Security or Social Security disability, your income's not fluctuating up and down, which is a great thing for an underwriter because it shows stability for you. So I need perfect credit. We hear that all the time. Everybody thinks they need to have perfect credit, or I get a lot of calls that say my credit's awful. And then when we pull it, it's not that bad. So your credit being awful is probably depending on what your opinion of awful is. So, like I said, again, if you have a lower score, it's okay. We can help you plan and figure out what you need to do to improve that. But if you're at a 630, that you could still move forward, because like I said, if you're going to ask for down payment assistance for like a program like CHFA, you got to have that 620 and you'd be over that. So I need a larger down payment. A lot of people think you have to have 20% down to buy, and that is just not true. You don't have to have 20% down. So if you qualify for down payment assistance programs, you can utilize those. And that could have you bringing, like Pam said, as low as $500 down. We do have to get a little bit of help from the seller with closing costs, just so you know. That's something we're going to talk with your real estate agent about up front, and so that they know that needs to be written in the contract. So next slide. So common hurdles. Lowering your debt to income that's a tough one. So a lot of people have existing debt that they need to reduce to get their debt to income ratio down. So just so you know, we take your gross income, and we are not going to want to see your over 50% of your gross income going out towards the new house payment and whatever debt you have left. So if we say your house payment's going to be 1,500, you know, and you make 3,000, you're right there. You can't have any other debt, right? So we're going to help work on those numbers. If you come to us and you're over that 50%, we're going to talk to you about, let's look at what credit cards you could work on paying down. And typically, what we typically look at is which debt do you have that has the biggest payment and the low you owe the least amount, because those are going to be a little easier to pay off. We're not going to pick the biggest, you know, the biggest amount of, you know, if you have a car payment of 40,000, we're not going to pick that because that's not really realistic half the time, you know. So we will work with you on that. You know, and we're also, your lenders should all be looking at down payment assistance and talking to you about that. If you talk to a lender who is not talking to you about down payment assistance and you need money and you don't have money for a down payment, you need to find a lender who will talk to you about that. You also need to make sure you're very comfortable with the lender that you're talking to, because you're going to be working with them for a long period of time. And like Pam said, this should be your trusted confidant. So if you're not comfortable with who you're working with, it's okay to look for somebody else that you are comfortable with. So it's hard. It is hard to absorb higher closing costs. So or housing costs. And sorry, I misspelled that on my slide. Sorry about that. So, but you know, one of the things that we, like Ty looked at, was moving out of Metro Denver to a smaller community. So, you know, those are some things you might have to consider. That just is what it is. When you move out of Metro Denver, you get away from those high purchase prices. Typically your taxes are a little lower because you're in some smaller communities. So, you know, something you might have to consider, but we also want to make sure that you know a little bit. So I would do a little research on those communities. So one thing that I do like to recommend when you're trying to figure out your debt is to attend some budget counseling. Most of the housing authorities all over the state offer budget counseling for free. So if you just reach out to them, they'll get you in a class. They're very happy to help you figure out how to get your debt reduced. So, okay, we can go to the next one. Okay, so common credit issues. So if you have past medical collections, we typically tell you not to pay those because we don't really care about past medical collections. A lot of people start working on those. If you have a medical collection or a collection with Verizon, I would much rather you pay Verizon off than your medical collection. So that's a common thing that people think, oh, I'll just pay off my past medical collections and I'm going to ignore like the credit card collections. We would rather you work on the credit card collections. If you have a limited credit history, that means you don't have a lot of debt or a lot of credit cards. You've never had a credit card. You've never had a car loan. You probably don't have a credit score. And that's okay, but it's helpful for you. The credit underwriting guidelines are more restrictive when you don't have a credit score than when you do. So at that point, we would probably tell you to try to get a secured card from your bank to help you build a little credit. And when you do that, you do not want to charge that credit card up to the max. You just want to use a little bit of it every month. So maybe a tank of gas and pay it off when the bill comes, and then use it again the same way the next month for another tank of gas. So if you have no credit, building a little credit, I know that can be scary, but it will help you because the underwriting guidelines are less strict when you do that. So, you know, and how to overcome some credit issues, just, you know, slowly work on paying down your balances, set up payment plans. And we talked about the authorized user or the trade, adding a trade account. If you have someone that has some established credit on a credit card that has a good payment history, you could ask them to add you as an authorized user. If they've missed payments on that credit card, you do not want to be on that credit card. You don't want their bad payment history to become your bad payment history. So, yep. And I think working with a lender early on to create strategies is a great thing. If you're on disability, you can often ask for your student loans to be forgiven. So that's something that your lender can help you determine, should you do that? Do you need to? Okay. All right, Ty, we can go to the next one. And then what's the need for a cosigner? So a cosigner can help strengthen your file. So a cosigner is somebody who's not going to live in the house with you, but they're going to come on this loan to give you guys some strength. So their income can help you qualify, and then they also need to have a good credit history. So if they've had late payments and things like that, that's not a cosigner you want. So what your cosigner needs to understand is that they are responsible for the loan with you. And so basically, if you miss a payment, that goes on your cosigner's credit and your credit. So if you have a cosigner, you always want to make sure you make the payment or they're not going to be super happy with you. So, and then, every loan program is a little different. Some of them, like if you're not doing the home access, like Pam said, you can't have a cosigner and get down payment assistance. That's something that's very unique to home access. Okay. Do I have another one, Ty? Or is that my last one? Oh, I do. Okay. So, oh, and I think this is a duplicate. Sorry. So that one, sorry, I must have added that one in there twice. Okay. So, helpful strategies for you guys to get you into a position, start early. I mean, even if you don't think you're ready right now, it's okay to start to, you could sit down with a lender. If you want somebody locally, you can do it over the phone, you can do it over the internet, but make sure you're talking to somebody early and kind of getting your steps planned out. So I have a lot of people that do that. They say, I'm not going to be ready for 6 months. I just want to make sure that my credit's in line, my income's in line, and we go through all of that. Work with a knowledgeable lender and agent, super important. If you're, like I said, you need to feel comfortable with both of these people because you're going to be working through all kinds of issues like inspection issues, appraisal issues. There's so many things that come up in the loan program. You want to make sure that you're working for people who are there for you and giving you the proper guidance. Ask about down payment assistance, ask about grants, or if there's any kind of funding for that. So different counties have different kinds of funding. So, that's important to have somebody that's knowledgeable for your area. And then just a reminder that conventional loans with, 20% down are not your only options. You can get FHA loans, VA loans, or a USDA loan. So your lender should be looking at all of those for you. And then just, know that if you're not ready right now, it's okay. You can plan for that. So, all right.